Your wife found a $1,000 charge on the card last Tuesday and didn't say a word until dinner. You knew the look because you've seen it before. That silence cost you 2 hours of sleep and a conversation neither of you wanted to have. If you're sitting there thinking, it wasn't even that much money, so why does it feel like we're falling apart over it? You're not alone. That's exactly where this starts. Here's what nobody's telling you. The $1,000 isn't the fight, and it never was. The fight is about the fact that there's no shared system, no agreed on rules, and no visibility into where the money goes between the big commission checks. The dollar amount is just the match. The dry kindling was already there. And if you don't fix the structure underneath it, you'll have the same fight at 500, at 2,000, at whatever number your wife decides is the line. The number changes, but the argument doesn't. That's the part that grinds a marriage down slowly until one of you stops bringing it up at all. That silence is worse than the fight. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's actually driving the money conflict in your relationship, why the standard budgeting advice makes it worse on commission income, and what a shared system looks like when one of you earns in big, irregular chunks. Now, I've watched commission income households run this same pattern long enough to see where it ends. The fight about $1,000 in your 30s becomes the fight about the retirement account that doesn't exist in your 40s. Same root cause, same missing structure. So let's get into it. Here's what's actually going on under the surface. Let's start with Tyler, who closed a solid month. 2 big jobs landed inside the same week, and the commission hit his checking account all at once. He felt good and he bought something. It wasn't reckless by his math. The account had money in it. The bills were paid, and he figured he'd earned it. His wife opened the app, saw the charge, and her stomach dropped. Not because they're broke, but because she had no idea it was coming. No way to know if it fit, and no framework to tell her whether the money was actually available or already spoken for. That's the fight. Not the purchase itself, but the invisibility of where everything actually stood. Here's what I've watched play out in commission income households over and over. The rep sees a balance, and the balance looks fine. What he doesn't see, and what his wife can't see either, is that the same account holding that balance also needs to cover the next 2 months of slow season, a tax bill that's quietly building, the mortgage in 3 weeks, and the credit card that auto drafts on the 14th. It all lives in one account. It all looks like one number, and that one number is a lie. The wife isn't checking the app because she's controlling. She's checking the app because it's the only information she has. When the income comes in lumps and the spending happens daily and nobody has defined what's safe to spend, the app is the only scoreboard either of you can see. And it's not a good scoreboard, just a balance with no context. I spent 4 years as a financial advisor before I ever knocked on a door in roofing. I sat across from couples who made good money and still fought about it. The income wasn't the problem in most cases. The structure was, or the lack of one. When I crossed into commission sales myself and started building what eventually became the feast system, this was one of the first problems I had to solve. How do you create shared visibility and shared rules when the income is lumpy, irregular, and emotionally loaded? The answer isn't a budget spreadsheet, and honestly, neither of you actually wants one. What you both want is a system that tells you, without a conversation or a fight, whether the money is available or not. That system exists, and it's not complicated. But it requires a structural change, not a discipline change. And that's the part most financial advice completely misses. If that framing just landed for you, that's the whole point of this channel. Subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown on how commission income households can build a money system that actually holds. Now, let's get into what that system looks like. Here's what makes commission income uniquely hard on a relationship and why the standard advice fails you. Every piece of conventional budgeting advice is built for a salary. It assumes a predictable, recurring deposit on a predictable schedule. You know the number, divide it up, and spend it accordingly. The whole framework assumes the income is the stable variable and the spending is the thing you manage. On commission, that's backwards. The income is the unstable variable, coming in big, irregular chunks. A month where you close 4 jobs might be followed by 3 weeks where the phone barely rings. You might pull in a check that feels enormous, spend at a level that matches how you feel, and then hit a 6-week stretch where nothing closes and the account drains faster than you expected. The standard budgeting advice tells you to track your spending and stick to the plan, but there's no plan that survives contact with a $0 commission month when you built your lifestyle around a $25,000 month. Your wife feels this differently than you do. You know the pipeline, you know what's working, and you know the slow stretch is temporary because you've seen the cycle before. She doesn't have that context. What she has is the bank balance, the bills, and the memory of the last time the account got uncomfortably low. Her anxiety isn't irrational, it's a rational response to incomplete information. The system you need to build isn't just a money system, it's an information system that gives her and you the same picture at the same time without a conversation being required. The root cause of most commission household money fights comes down to three things. First, everything sits in one account. One account means one number, and that number has no context. Second, there's no defined safe amount to spend. When the balance is $11,000, is that a lot or a little? Depend on what's coming, what's already claimed, and what the next 60 days looks like. Without a system, neither of you knows. Third, there's no agreed on process for when a big check lands. It just hits the account, and whoever spends first wins. I've watched this play out long enough to know how it ends when nothing changes. The fights don't get fewer, they get quieter, and quieter is worse. Quiet means someone stopped fighting for the relationship and started managing around it instead. You don't want that, and neither does she. What you both want is a system that makes the answer obvious before the question becomes a fight. This is exactly what the system I built is designed to solve. Not the income problem, but the visibility problem and the structure problem. Let me show you what it looks like. The system is built on one core idea. Give every dollar a job the moment it lands, automatically, across separate accounts, so that a balance in any one account tells you exactly what it means. No context required, no conversation required. The number in that account is what it is, because that's all the account does. Here's the structure. 5 accounts split across 2 banks. Your main checking account handles fixed bills like mortgage, insurance, and car payments. The predictable, recurring stuff. That's all it does. You keep roughly 1.5 times your bare bones monthly expenses in that account as a buffer. Not because you need it all right now, but because the buffer is what lets you pay yourself a steady, predictable amount even when the commission checks are lumpy. The buffer absorbs the variance so your household doesn't have to. The second account is your daily spending checking. This is what you actually use for groceries, gas, daily life. And here's the key. You keep a defined, limited amount in it. Somewhere in the range of $800 to $1,200 a month. And when it's gone, it's gone. I call this synthetic scarcity. You're not actually broke. You're just creating a boundary that makes the decision obvious. When that account is at $200, you both know it. No app checking required. The number tells the story. The third account is the fun account. This is a non-negotiable. And I want you to pay attention here because this is the piece most guys skip and then wonder why the system falls apart. The fun account gets 5 to 10% of every commission check. It's yours, no questions asked. Spend it to zero, that's the rule. The point of this account is to give you a guilt-free spending bucket so that when you want to buy something, you don't have to negotiate, justify, or ask permission. You check the fun account, and if the money's there, you spend it. If it's not, you wait. That one account eliminates most of the unilateral spending fights because the rules are already agreed on before the purchase happens. The fourth and fifth accounts live at a separate bank deliberately. The friction of transferring money from a different institution is a feature, not a bug. One of those accounts is your emergency fund, building towards 3 to 6 months of bare bones expenses. The other is your tax reserve. If you're 1099, 25 to 30% of every commission check goes there. Same day it lands, no exceptions. Those accounts have no debit card, so you can't accidentally spend from them. The money just sits there, growing, so that April doesn't blindside you and you don't rob your future stability. Now here's the piece that changes the relationship dynamic most directly, the personal operating account. This is the buffer I mentioned in the main checking, but the concept goes further. The goal is to accumulate enough in that buffer that you can pay yourself a fixed, predictable salary to your household on a set schedule, say the 1st and the 15th of every month, regardless of when the commission checks actually land. Your wife stops seeing random large deposits followed by nothing for 3 weeks. She sees a paycheck, predictable, expected, same as a salaried household. The income is still variable on the back end, but the household experience stops being variable on the front end. That shift alone reduces more financial anxiety than any budget conversation ever will. The process is simple. Every time a commission check lands, you allocate it the same day. You run the numbers, you move the money, you send the right amounts to the right accounts. It takes maybe 15 minutes max. You do this for 6 to 12 weeks and it becomes second nature. Here's what I can tell you from running this system on my own commission income when I was actively selling roofs. The $175,000 mortgage I paid off in 16 months, that was made possible by having a structure like this in place. The allocation happened before I could spend the money. The fund account is what keeps the system intact when a big month hits because the guilt-free spending is already built in. That's what the system made possible for me on my specific income and my specific timeline. Your math depends on your income, your debt, and your goals, but the structure is the same. When Tyler runs this system, the $1,000 fight stops happening. Not because he stops spending $1,000, but because now there's an account that tells both of them whether $1,000 is available. If the fund account has it, the purchase is already approved by the system. If it doesn't, the system says no, so neither of them has to. My wife and I don't fight about money, and I'm very grateful for that. Not because the income is always predictable, because it's definitely not, but because the system answers the question before either of us has to ask it. When she checks the app, she already knows what that number means. The structure replaced the conversation. Hey Roof Money Pros, if you want the full framework for setting this up on commission income, grab the free Feast or Famine Survival Guide at the link below. It walks you through the forecasting foundation so you know exactly what your income is doing before you try to manage it. That's where the Feast system starts. And if this video was useful, hit subscribe. Every week, I put out new videos built specifically for roofing sales reps who are done letting the feast or famine cycle run their finances. Thanks for watching, and in the meantime, keep stacking, keep building, and I'll see you in the next one.